Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alondra Elizabeth. Hi if you're new here, and hopefully you are new here because I think a lot of my followers now were like with me during law school, so probably not as useful to them as it will be to someone finding this video randomly. Anyways, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to be successful in law school, specifically your 1L year. I know it's a very overwhelming time, it's a very exciting time, but it's like you have no idea what to do to get things right. And by no means are these tips the end all be all. Things to keep in mind if you are watching this video because you're about to go into law school. I imagine you're watching many other videos, and so I think there are going to be similarities between the tips that people are telling you, and just a caveat, at the end of the day, it's whatever works for you, and you can definitely make your law school story a success without having to copy or do what other people are doing. So with that in mind, here are my 5 tips for what will make your first year of law school a success. Let's go straight into it. So tip number 1, be prepared for class. And this is extremely basic, but also extremely important. In my first year of law school, I made a video one time about how I was reading for class. And a lot of comments I was seeing in that video were like, oh, you're spending too much time. You shouldn't be reading a case 3 times. You shouldn't be taking notes this way. You could just make it easier. Just brief in the case. Don't brief on a separate sheet of paper, etc. And again, you can do whatever works for you. But the most important thing that you should make sure you're doing is that you're actually preparing for class. It's your job to make sure that you're learning the material. That was something that a mentor told me like my 1L year. And it sounds harsh because you're like, am I not paying to go to law school? Am I not paying for these professors that are here to teach me? Yes, but most professors, I'm not saying you're not gonna have good professors. I had great professors, but professors are like set in their ways. They do what they need to do. And also depending on where you are in law school and like in terms of class size, like it may be a classroom size where the professor can't take the time to explain something 3 different ways in the classroom, and then they'll just teach it that one way, and it is your job to make sure that you understand it that way, or to take some time apart and figure it out a different way with them later. So be prepared for class because that will make it easier. Do your readings. You can use supplemental things like Quimby, but don't make that replace you actually reading and preparing for class. I read, and I'll link the video up, but I read the cases like 3 times my first year of law school, and especially my first semester of law school, because that was the way that I was taught to do it. And it was the way that helped me feel prepared for class, so less anxious about being cold called. It helped me make sure that I was remembering facts so that when the professor was talking about the case, I wasn't having to learn about it in that instant, and I was actually able to follow along with the hypotheticals and the extraneous examples that were being given that related to the case but weren't in the case, because I had actually read the case and I could participate. So that's just like a big thing. Like, make sure that you're prepared for class in whatever way you need to be prepared for class. But for me, like at least that first year, I think it makes sense to be a little bit more meticulous about how you're doing these things, and then like do the shortcuts later. Tip number 2, focus in class. And this is definitely a no-brainer, but I think it's so easy to feel overwhelmed in classes, especially once the subjects become a little bit trickier and you're starting to get lost, to just sort of like doodle in your notebook and to shop online if you're using your laptop, or to do other things. Law school can also be really busy in terms of other things that are required of you outside of just the classes. So it makes sense if you're getting emails or things that you want to be paying attention to them. Try not to. And I definitely say this like with full honesty. Like, I obviously, some classes I wasn't fully 100% paying attention, but I suffered for it. In terms of when I wasn't paying attention, I had a harder time with the subject. Then I had to spend more time outside of law school trying to understand the subjects instead of having paid a little bit more attention or tried a little bit harder to focus when I was already in the class, spending the 1.5 hours or 2 hours in the classroom instead of having to spend an additional time afterwards. So yeah, I think I would just make sure you're focusing in class, like engage in like taking notes or participating if you're someone who doesn't feel shy about talking in class. Really just make notes of places that are naturally confusing and that you're not understanding in the class, so that it's easier for you to just go back and be like, I need help with this, instead of feeling like you didn't understand something in a class and then having to go back and like, what was it that I didn't understand? Do yourself a favor and stay focused in class, stay engaged, and mark those points of confusion for yourself. It'll just make things easier. I think I didn't learn this until my 2L year, but it worked wonders. Once it came to property and things definitely got more confusing, it helped to stay engaged and make those notes for yourself. Tip number 3, go to office hours. Going to office hours is gonna be your lifesaver. It was for me. If you're a shy student who doesn't like to raise your hand in class, or you just like don't learn very well from like looking at videos that are explaining things slightly different than your professor, or just simply rereading material again, like that's not helpful. Honestly, like going to office hours is the best thing you can do. And also, I would just encourage you to do it anyway, because the professor who's teaching the class is the professor who's grading your final exams. And so if you have a question that you're unsure of how to answer, it goes straight to the person who's going to grade you at the end of the day. And that's just like the biggest tip, honestly, that I can give you. And I'm sure it's the one you hear the most, and probably one of the hardest ones, especially as a 1L year, to go to your professor. I know I found that very nerve-wracking. I definitely personally did not go to office hours until 2L year willingly. My 1L year, some of my professors required that we go after midterms or to go review like an exam or something, which is nice. But I don't think a lot of law schools do that in terms of having you come in at least once so you get that one-on-one time. But I would definitely go to office hours. Take a friend if you don't want to go by yourself. Better yet, like maybe even set up a system that works for you. Well, with my friend Elisa, sometimes if we had questions in common, if I couldn't go, she would go and she would ask me questions. If she couldn't come to an office hours, then I would go to office hours and ask any questions that she had. And so just that sense of accountability of maybe I wouldn't have gone for my own questions, but knowing that she couldn't make those office hours and had questions helped me like get my butt into office hours. So just find a way to make that work. One thing for sure, I promise, it'll definitely get easier after you go to that first office hours. And professors get to know you too, and it's just way more easier on your end to ask questions that you have. Professors are there to be a resource. Some of them might not be as available as others, and that's just something that you'll have to learn to navigate. But going to office hours, I think, is a key thing to being successful in law school, just because you get to know exactly what the professor wants for that final exam. And at the end of the day, that's how you get graded, with your final exam. So go to office hours. Tip number 4, take a break. And I don't know how often you're hearing this or not, but that is vital, especially your first year. First year is so overwhelming. There's so much that you're learning how to do, how to read a case, how to brief a case, how to write for law school, which is different, like legal writing, how to read legal writing. Like it's just, there's a lot of new things. Even if you're a great student prior, like law school typically is filled with a lot of great students. So everyone's at the same level, and it's hard to feel like you're lost or not able to perform as well as you used to, or as well as you thought you could. So it's a very overwhelming time, and I think taking a break is extremely important. I know my 1L year, I actually tried really, really hard to take Fridays off and to always do something for myself every week. And I think that showed in terms of my ability to kind of stay focused and everything. And my hardest year in law school was 2L year. And we'll get to that when I make a video about 2L year. But it was extremely busy, and I stopped taking breaks that year. And that definitely made it worse, because you can't be on all the time. So give yourself grace, be patient with yourself. Law school is its own beast. It's nothing like you've ever done before. And like, again, you could be a great student, and you will have been a great student getting to law school, but it's still going to be hard. And so give yourself grace. Take a break. Enjoy your spring break. Enjoy Thanksgiving dinner. And just keep in mind that law school is a sacrifice. It's going to take your time away from your family and your friends, away from things that maybe you're used to doing, but that doesn't mean you have to let go of doing everything. So make sure you're taking care of yourself, and make sure you're taking breaks throughout this first year of law school. And then lastly, for my 5th tip, the first year is really a time to learn what systems work for you in terms of how you outline, how you study, how you memorize the law, how fast you are at typing, how you like to attack an exam question, all these things. So this first year, just really try and hone that in. Like, I don't know if this is like a hard tip to put in like a couple of words, but really work on figuring out how you study, how you learn, and that will be, I think, the best thing you can do to set yourself up for success for the last 2 years as well. First 4 tips were more for like your first year, but this last tip is gonna happen in your first year, but it's really about how you're gonna be doing moving forward. So just to recap, be prepared for class, read the cases, actually read them, focus in class, stay engaged, ask questions, know what parts are confusing to you, go to office hours by yourself or with a friend, at least once or twice a semester, take a break, make sure you're taking care of yourself so you can be performing as you know you can, and hone in on how you study and how you learn, and that'll just be the best thing you can do for yourself. And good luck. Congratulations if you're in first year of law school. You've got this. I will never tire saying this. I think anyone can do law school. It just definitely takes time and dedication, and I'm proud of y'all. You can do it. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for tips for your second year and third year of law school. Let me know if you would like more, but I think this is just the best I can do in short time of videos. And again, the further removed I get from law school, the less I feel comfortable sharing tips about how to do law school. So I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.